A night of desperation, Josephine Brooks adjusted her black dress for the third time in 5 minutes, trying to hide the small tear near the hem. The gallery buzzed with Chicago's elite, their laughter mixing with soft jazz as they sipped champagne and admired paintings that cost more than she made in a year. At 24, she had become an expert at blending into these wealthy spaces while feeling like an imposter in borrowed clothes. Her feet ached in the second-hand heels she had found at a thrift store. This was her 4th job this week. Monday through Friday, she waitressed at a diner near her apartment. Tuesday and Thursday evenings, she cleaned office buildings downtown. Weekends were reserved for catering gigs like this one, where she passed trays of expensive appetizers to people who never looked at her face. The weight she carried, Josephine needed every single dollar. Her younger brother Tommy, just 16 years old, had been diagnosed with a rare heart condition 2 years ago. Their parents had died in a car accident when Tommy was 10, leaving Josephine to become both sister and guardian. The medical bills were crushing, and Tommy needed surgery soon. The doctors had been clear about that. She had dropped out of the Art Institute of Chicago in her final year. The choice had been simple. Really, keep pursuing her dreams, or keep her brother alive. Some decisions made themselves. Tonight, she moved through the crowd with a practiced smile, offering bruschetta and crab cakes to guests who took them without acknowledgement. The gallery showcased contemporary abstract pieces, bold colors and dramatic shapes that seemed to shout for attention. Josephine studied them when she could. Her artist's eye never quite turning off despite everything. The moment everything changed, that was when it happened. Josephine turned too quickly near the bar, and her tray collided with someone's arm. Time seemed to slow as she watched a glass of champagne arc through the air and splash across an expensive suit jacket.
Ow.
Oh no, I am so sorry. Josephine grabbed napkins with shaking hands, her heart pounding. Getting fired would be a disaster. She needed this paycheck desperately. Please, let me help clean that up. The man she had drenched looked down at his ruined jacket with an expression she could not read. He was tall, probably mid-30s, with dark hair and striking blue eyes. His suit probably cost more than her monthly rent. She braced herself for anger, for humiliation, for the manager to appear and escort her out. Instead, he laughed. It was a genuine sound, warm and unexpected in this cold space of pretension. "It is really okay," he said, his voice kind. "Honestly, I have been looking for an excuse to leave this jacket at the dry cleaners anyway. My assistant keeps telling me it makes me look too formal." An unexpected connection. Josephine stared at him, confused by his reaction. In her experience, wealthy people did not laugh when staff members made mistakes. They complained. They demanded to speak to managers. They certainly did not smile at her like she was a person instead of invisible help. "You are sure you are not upset?" she asked carefully, still holding the useless napkins. "Completely sure." He extended his hand. "I am Benjamin Ashford, and you have just saved me from another hour of boring conversation about market trends and stock portfolios." She shook his hand hesitantly. "Josephine Brooks, I really am sorry about your jacket." "Josephine," he repeated as if testing how her name sounded. His gaze moved to her hands, and she saw him notice the paint stains under her fingernails that she could never quite scrub away. "You are an artist." It was not a question. Josephine pulled her hands back self-consciously.
I was.
I studied art. Before I had to stop." Benjamin tilted his head, his interest clearly piqued. "Had to stop? That sounds like a story." "It is not a very interesting one," Josephine deflected, glancing around nervously. Her supervisor was watching from across the room. "I should really get back to work before I cause any more disasters. The unexpected offer wait." Benjamin pulled out his wallet and handed her a business card. Josephine saw the words Ashford Technologies in elegant script. "I am hosting a charity gala next month. We need someone to create custom pieces for the event. Original artwork that captures themes of innovation and hope. Would you be interested?" Josephine looked at the card, then back at his face, searching for the joke. "You want to hire me? You do not even know if I am any good. Call it a hunch." "Well, Benjamin smiled. Plus, anyone who still has paint under their nails while working 3 jobs clearly has not given up on their art. That kind of dedication interests me. How did you know I work multiple jobs? Josephine asked, surprised. Your shoes do not match your dress. Your hands show signs of different kinds of work, not just serving food. And you have been looking at the artwork in this gallery with the kind of analysis that comes from real training. Benjamin said this matter-of-factly, without judgment. I built my company by noticing details other people miss. So, what do you say? Will you at least let me see your portfolio? Wrestling with hope, Josephine wanted to say yes. Every fiber of her being wanted to grab this impossible opportunity. But life had taught her to be suspicious of things that seemed too good to be true. She had learned that lesson the hard way more than once. Why would you do this for someone you just met? She asked quietly. Someone who just ruined your jacket? Benjamin's expression grew serious. Because 5 years ago, someone took a chance on me when I was building my first company in my garage. I had nothing but an idea and determination. They invested when everyone else said I was too young, too inexperienced, too risky. That faith changed my entire life. He paused. And because I recognize that look in your eyes, the one that says you are drowning but still fighting to keep your head above water, I have been there. Tears suddenly burned in Josephine's eyes. She blinked them back hard. She could not cry here, not in front of all these people, not while wearing this uniform that marked her as staff. I have a brother, she heard herself saying. He needs surgery. That is why I had to leave school. That is why I work all the time. Every dollar goes to his medical care. A hand extended then. Let me help you earn more dollars, Benjamin said simply. This commission pays $20,000 for the completed pieces. Plus, I connect you with other clients who might be interested in your work. No strings attached. Just your talent getting the recognition it deserves. $20,000. The number echoed in Josephine's head. That would cover Tommy's surgery. That would give them breathing room for the first time in 2 years. That would mean she could stop working herself into exhaustion every single day. I do not understand why you are being so kind, Josephine whispered, her voice breaking slightly. Nobody just helps people like me. There is always a catch. Benjamin met her eyes steadily. The only catch is that you have to actually be talented. Show me your work. If it is good, we move forward. If not, then we both move on with no hard feelings. But something tells me I am not going to be disappointed. He wrote something on the back of his business card before handing it to her. That is my personal cell number. Call me this week, and we will set up a time for you to bring your portfolio. Deal. Josephine took the card with trembling fingers. Deal? She managed to say, as Benjamin walked away. Disappearing into the crowd of wealthy guests, Josephine stood frozen in place. The card felt like it weighed nothing and everything at the same time. Hope was a dangerous thing. It made you vulnerable. It set you up for crushing disappointment. But as she slipped the card into her pocket and picked up her tray again, Josephine could not stop the small smile that tugged at her lips. Maybe, just maybe, something good was finally about to happen. She had no idea how right she was, or how completely this encounter would transform not just her career, but her entire understanding of trust, vulnerability, and what it meant to be truly seen by another person. The call that changed everything. 3 days passed before Josephine found the courage to call the number on Benjamin's card. She stared at her phone for 20 minutes, thumb hovering over the dial button, talking herself into and out of it at least a dozen times. What if he had forgotten about her? What if it had been a polite brush-off and he never actually expected her to call? What if this was all some elaborate setup for something she did not want to think about? Finally, Tommy caught her pacing around their tiny apartment and snatched the phone from her hands. Just call him already, her brother said, his voice exasperated but affectionate. You have been staring at that card like it is going to explode. What is the worst that can happen? He could say no, Josephine answered quietly. He could laugh at my work. He could make me feel stupid for hoping. Tommy, wise beyond his 16 years from too much time in hospital beds, gave her a gentle smile. Or he could say yes. You will never know unless you try. So Josephine called. Benjamin answered on the second ring, his voice warm with recognition when she identified herself. They scheduled a meeting for Saturday afternoon at his penthouse in one of Chicago's most exclusive buildings. He assured her it was purely professional, and that his assistant would be present if that made her more comfortable. Stepping into another world, Saturday arrived with autumn sunshine streaming through gray clouds. Josephine gathered her portfolio, a worn leather case that had belonged to her father, and made the journey downtown. The building's doorman checked his list and directed her to the private elevator that went directly to the penthouse level. Her hands shook as the elevator climbed. She had dressed in her best outfit, a simple navy dress she usually saved for job interviews, and had spent an hour making sure her portfolio was organized perfectly. The paintings and sketches inside represented hundreds of hours of work, squeezed into stolen moments between shifts and hospital visits. The elevator doors opened directly into Benjamin's penthouse, and Josephine stepped into a space that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lake Michigan, the water sparkling in the afternoon light. But what captured her attention was not the view or the expensive furniture. It was the art studio. One entire wall of the penthouse had been converted into a working studio space. Canvases in various stages of completion leaned against walls. Paint supplies were organized on shelves. Natural light flooded through skylights overhead. It was a space designed by someone who understood what artists needed, revealing her sole welcome. Benjamin said, appearing from another room. He wore jeans and a casual sweater, looking nothing like the formal businessman from the gallery. My assistant had a family emergency, so it is just us today. But I promise I am harmless. Would you like something to drink? Coffee, tea, water? Water would be nice, Josephine said, her voice barely above a whisper. Being alone with him felt intimate in a way she had not anticipated. Though he maintained a respectful distance and his manner was entirely professional, he brought her water and gestured to a comfortable seating area near the windows. Whenever you are ready, I would love to see your work. Josephine sat down and opened her portfolio with hands that would not stop trembling. The first piece was a watercolor of Tommy sleeping in his hospital bed, golden afternoon light streaming through the window. She had painted it during one of his longer stays, trying to find beauty in a place filled with fear. Benjamin studied it in silence for a long moment. Then he looked up at her, something shifting in his expression. "This is your brother," asked Tommy. "He is the reason I do everything." Josephine pulled out more pieces. Charcoal sketches of Chicago streets at dawn when she walked to her first job. Oil paintings of Lake Michigan in different seasons. Abstract pieces that captured emotions she could not put into words. Each one told a story of struggle and survival, but also of stubborn hope. Benjamin went through every single piece, taking his time with each one. He asked questions about her technique, her inspiration, her process, and Josephine found herself opening up in ways she never did with strangers. There was something about the way he listened, truly listened, that made her feel safe. "Breaking down the walls, these are remarkable," Benjamin said finally. "You have a gift for capturing raw emotion while maintaining technical excellence. That combination is rare, Josephine. Very rare. Thank you," she managed, blinking back sudden tears. Hearing someone validate her work after so long felt overwhelming. "I want to hire you for the gala," Benjamin continued, "but I also want to offer you something else. I have this studio space that hardly gets used. I bought this penthouse partly because of it, thinking I would take up painting as a hobby, but I never have time. It seems wasteful to let it sit empty when someone with real talent could be using it." Josephine stared at him. "I do not understand what you are saying." "I am saying you can use this space. Come here whenever you want to work on the gala pieces or your own projects. I am usually at my office until late anyway. You would have the place mostly to yourself." Benjamin spoke casually, as if he was not offering her something impossibly generous. "No rent, no strings. Just an artist using a studio that is going to waste otherwise?" The question burst out of Josephine before she could stop it. "Why are you doing all this? You do not know me. I could be anyone. I could be lying about everything." The truth emerges. Benjamin was quiet for a moment, his gaze distant. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight of old pain. I had a sister, Claire. She was 3 years younger than me, and she was brilliant. She wanted to be a doctor, spent her teenage years volunteering at hospitals, dreamed of opening free clinics in underserved communities. Josephine felt her heart clench at the past tense he used. She got sick when she was 19. Benjamin continued softly. Leukemia. I was 22, just out of college, working crazy hours trying to get my first startup off the ground. I was so focused on building something, on proving myself, that I did not spend enough time with her. I kept thinking I would visit more once things settled down at work. Once we secured funding, once we launched the product. He paused, and Josephine saw the grief etched in his features. She died 6 months after her diagnosis, and I never got those moments back. All the times I chose work over sitting beside her hospital bed. All the conversations we never had. Benjamin looked directly at Josephine. I made a promise at her funeral. If I ever had the resources to help someone the way I should have helped her, I would not hesitate. I would not make excuses. I would just do it. A moment of raw honesty tears streamed down Josephine's face now, impossible to hold back any longer. I am so sorry, she whispered. I am so sorry you lost her. So am I, Benjamin said. Every single day. But when I saw you at that gallery, saw the determination in your eyes and the paint still under your nails despite everything you were juggling, I saw someone fighting the same fight Claire never got to finish. Someone trying to keep their family together while the world makes it impossibly hard. I am scared, Josephine admitted, her voice breaking. I am scared to accept help because what if it disappears? What if I let myself believe things can get better and then it all falls apart? I do not know if I can survive another disappointment. Benjamin moved to sit across from her, maintaining respectful distance but offering his full attention. I understand that fear. After Claire died, I shut everyone out for 2 years. I threw myself into work because it was safer than feeling anything. It took a good therapist and some very patient friends to help me realize I was just existing, not living. Josephine asked through her tears. Honestly, I am still working on it, Benjamin admitted. But I learned that trust has to start somewhere. Someone has to take the first risk. And I would rather be the person offering that chance than the person too afraid to accept it. The confession Josephine wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself, but the words kept coming. Once she started, she could not stop. This is my first time, she said, her voice raw with emotion. My first time having someone see me, really see me, and not look away. My first time having someone believe in my art. My first time thinking maybe I am worth more than just surviving day to day. She covered her face with her hands, embarrassed by how completely she was falling apart in front of this man she barely knew. Everyone in my life either needs something from me or feels sorry for me. You are the first person who looked at my work before looking at my circumstances, who saw the artist before seeing the struggling girl with the sick brother. Do you have any idea how much that means? Benjamin leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. Josephine, look at me. She lowered her hands, meeting his steady gaze through tear-blurred vision. You are not a charity case, he said clearly. You are a talented artist who deserves opportunities based on merit. Yes, I want to help with your brother's medical expenses. Yes, I am offering you resources that will make your life easier. But I am also offering you a professional commission because your work is genuinely excellent. Those things are not mutually exclusive. Building something real, I want to believe you, Josephine whispered. I want to trust this so badly it scares me, and believe me, Benjamin said simply. Take the commission. Use the studio. Let me introduce you to collectors who will appreciate your work. And if at any point you feel uncomfortable or think I have crossed a line, you walk away. No questions asked, no hard feelings. You hold all the power here, Josephine. I am just offering resources. You decide how to use them. Josephine took a shaky breath, then another. She thought about Tommy, waiting at home, trying to pretend he was not terrified about his upcoming surgery. She thought about her father's old portfolio case, now holding her own dreams. She thought about the studio space, bathed in perfect light, waiting for someone to bring it to life. Okay, she said finally. Okay, I will do it. The commission, The studio? All of it. But I need you to promise me something. Anything, Benjamin said. Promise me you will be honest with me. Always. If this is about more than just helping an artist. If you want something I cannot give, tell me now. I cannot handle surprises or hidden agendas. I need to know where I stand. Benjamin nodded seriously. I promise complete honesty. Right now, today, my motivation is exactly what I said. Helping someone who reminds me of Claire, supporting an artist with real talent, and maybe finding a way to use my resources for something meaningful instead of just accumulating more wealth I do not need. And if that changes, Josephine pressed, then I will tell you immediately. We will figure out together what that means for our working relationship, Benjamin assured her. You have my word. A new chapter begins. Josephine stood up, wiping the last of her tears away. She extended her hand for a formal handshake. Then we have a deal. I will create the most beautiful pieces for your gala that you have ever seen. Benjamin shook her hand, his grip warm and steady. I have no doubt you will. When can you start using the studio? Is tomorrow too soon? Josephine asked, allowing herself a small smile. Tomorrow is perfect. I will have a key made for you today. Benjamin smiled back, and Josephine noticed it reached his eyes in a way that made him look younger, less burdened. Welcome to your new workspace, Josephine Brooks. I have a feeling great things are about to happen. As Josephine left the penthouse that afternoon, key in hand and contract for the commission safely in her portfolio, she felt something she had not experienced in years. Not just hope, but genuine excitement for the future. The weight she had carried for so long felt just a little bit lighter. She called Tommy from the sidewalk outside the building, and when she told him about the commission and the $20,000, she heard him cry with relief on the other end of the line. For the first time in 2 years, they could breathe. Josephine looked back up at the towering building, at the penthouse windows gleaming in the late afternoon sun. Somewhere up there was a studio waiting for her, a man who had seen past her circumstances to the artist underneath. She still had fears. Trust was not built in a day, but she was willing to try, willing to take this chance and see where it led. Because sometimes the scariest thing was not accepting help, but refusing it and wondering forever what might have been. Tomorrow, she would start painting again. Really painting, not just stolen sketches between shifts. And somehow, that felt like coming home to a part of herself she had lost. 3 months of transformation. The autumn Chicago wind had turned bitter by the time Josephine put the finishing touches on her final piece for Benjamin's gala. 3 months had passed since that first meeting in his penthouse. 3 months that had transformed her life in ways she was still processing. She stood back from the canvas, brush in hand, and studied the massive painting before her. It depicted a city at dawn, half in shadow and half in brilliant light, with abstract figures reaching upward toward the sun. Innovation and hope, Benjamin had requested. She hoped she had captured both. The studio had become her sanctuary. She came here 5 days a week, usually in the afternoons after her morning shift at the diner. Benjamin had convinced her to quit the cleaning job and reduce her catering work, arguing that she needed time and energy for her art. The commission payment had been split into installments, giving her financial breathing room she had not known in years. Tommy's surgery had been scheduled for 2 weeks ago. Josephine had been terrified, but Benjamin had shown up at the hospital unannounced, bringing coffee and sitting with her through the entire 8-hour procedure. He had not said much, just offered his quiet presence. Somehow that had meant everything. The surgery had been successful. Tommy was recovering well, the doctors optimistic about his long-term prognosis. For the first time since their parents died, Josephine could imagine a future where her brother grew up healthy and whole. Unexpected. Complications, but success brought its own complications. As Josephine's work at the studio became known, whispers started circulating in Chicago's art community. Some were supportive, genuinely excited about her emerging talent. Others were skeptical and cruel. Of course, Ashford is promoting her work she overheard at a gallery opening Benjamin had invited her to. Look at her. Pretty girl, sad story, rich benefactor. We all know how this really works. The words stung more than Josephine wanted to admit. She had worked herself to exhaustion on these paintings, poured her soul into every brushstroke. To have people reduce her success to something sordid felt like a betrayal. Benjamin noticed her withdrawal immediately. They were in the studio one afternoon. He had stopped by to check on her progress for the gala, when he found her staring blankly at an unfinished canvas. "Talk to me," he said, settling into one of the studio chairs. "What is going on in that head of yours?" Josephine debated deflecting, but their relationship had been built on honesty. "People are talking," she admitted quietly. "About us. About why you are really helping me. They think I am sleeping my way to success." Benjamin's jaw tightened. People will always talk. Small minds cannot comprehend generosity without ulterior motives. "But it bothers me," Josephine said, turning to face him. "It makes me question everything. What if they are right? What if my work is not actually good enough and you are just being kind?" Facing the doubt stop, Benjamin said firmly. He stood and walked to where her completed paintings leaned against the wall. "Look at these. Really look at them. Do you see pity here? Do you see charity? Or do you see the work of someone with genuine talent and vision?" Josephine looked at her paintings, trying to see them objectively. The technical skill was there, she knew that. But was it enough? Was she truly gifted, or just adequately trained? "I see someone who is scared," Benjamin continued, his voice softening. "Someone who has been beaten down by life so many times that she cannot accept good things." Without waiting for the other shoe to drop, "And I get it, Josephine. I really do. But you cannot let fear and other people's jealousy steal your joy. How do you stay so confident?" she asked. "How do you just not care what people think?" Benjamin laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "Who says I do not care? After Claire died, the rumors about me were vicious. People said I had killed her with stress, that I had refused to help with her medical bills even though I could afford them, that I was using her death for sympathy and business deals. None of it was true, but it hurt like hell anyway." Josephine had not known that. Benjamin rarely talked about the aftermath of his sister's death, usually keeping their conversations focused on the present. "What changed?" she asked. "I realized that living my life trying to please people who had already decided to think the worst of me was exhausting and pointless," Benjamin said. "So I started living for the people who mattered, for the work that mattered. And I stopped giving my energy to critics who never gave me a fair chance anyway." A moment of clarity. Josephine absorbed his words, feeling something shift inside her. She had spent so long being grateful for scraps, so accustomed to justifying her existence, that she had forgotten she had value beyond what she could provide for others. "The gala is in 2 days," Benjamin said, changing the subject gently. "Your pieces are going to be the centerpiece of the entire event. 200 of Chicago's most influential people will see your work. Some will love it, some will not care, and some will be jealous. But your art will speak for itself. What if it is not enough?" The old fear crept back into Josephine's voice. "Then we try again," Benjamin said simply. "But I do not think that is going to be a problem. I've already had 3 collectors reach out asking about purchasing your work after the gala. Word is spreading, Josephine. Not because of me, but because of you." Josephine felt tears prick her eyes, but they were different tears than before. Not tears of desperation or fear, but of something that felt almost like pride. The gala night, the night of the gala, arrived with unseasonably warm weather for late November. Josephine wore a dress that Benjamin's assistant had helped her pick out. Deep emerald green that brought out the warmth in her brown eyes. She felt like she was playing dress-up, imposter among the wealthy and powerful gathered in the ballroom, Chicago's most prestigious hotel. But then she saw her paintings displayed throughout the space, dramatically lit and commanding attention. People gathered around them, studying them intently, discussing them with the kind of serious consideration reserved for real art. "They love them," Benjamin said, appearing beside her with 2 glasses of champagne. "I have heard nothing but praise all evening." "I cannot believe this is real," Josephine admitted, accepting the glass with shaking hands. 6 months ago, I was passing appetizers at events like this, invisible. Now people are looking at my work, really seeing it. They are seeing you, Benjamin corrected gently. The art is just how you show them who you are. Throughout the evening, Josephine found herself pulled into conversations with collectors, gallery owners, and art enthusiasts. Some asked about her technique, others about her inspiration. A few made offers to commission pieces or include her work in upcoming shows. By the time the event wound down near midnight, Josephine's head was spinning with possibilities. 3 galleries wanted to meet with her. 5 collectors had expressed serious interest in purchasing her paintings. And a non-profit organization that provided art therapy to hospitalized children had asked if she would consider teaching workshops. A confession understars Benjamin found her on the hotel's rooftop terrace, where she had escaped for a moment of quiet. The Chicago skyline glittered around them, and despite the late autumn chill, the air felt electric with potential. "Hiding from your admirers?" he asked with a smile. "Trying to process that this is actually happening?" Josephine replied. She turned to face him, and suddenly words she had been holding back for weeks came tumbling out. "Benjamin, I need to tell you something." His expression grew serious. "Okay, these past 3 months you have changed my entire life. You gave me back my art, helped save my brother, believed in me when I could not believe in myself." Josephine took a breath. "But somewhere along the way, my feelings became more complicated. And I need to be honest about that, because we promised each other honesty." Benjamin stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. "Complicated how?" "I think I am falling for you," Josephine admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "And I do not know if that is real, or if it is just gratitude, or if I am confusing support with something deeper. But I needed to say it out loud because keeping it secret was eating me alive." The response she never expected, the silence that followed, felt eternal. Josephine braced herself for gentle rejection, for the kind explanation that he cared about her, but only as a mentor, as a friend, as a project. Instead, Benjamin reached out and gently took her hand. "Can I be honest back?" Josephine nodded, not trusting her voice. "I have been falling for you since the moment you told me about Tommy at that gallery. When you were so fierce about protecting him, even though you were drowning yourself." Benjamin's thumb traced circles on the back of her hand, but I did not say anything because I was terrified of making you uncomfortable, of using my position to pressure you into something you did not genuinely want. "You were not pressuring me," Josephine said quickly. "That is the thing. You never pushed, never made me feel obligated. You just saw me, really saw me, and that made me feel human again, after so long feeling like just a machine for survival." "So what do we do now?" Benjamin asked, and Josephine heard vulnerability in his voice that matched her own. She thought about Tommy, healthy and healing. About her paintings hanging in a ballroom downstairs, admired by people who mattered in the art world. About the studio that had become her second home. About this man who had given her everything and asked for nothing in return. "I think we take it slow," Josephine said carefully. "I think we keep being honest with each other. And I think we see where this goes without expectations or pressure. Because what we have built, this friendship and trust, that matters too much to rush or risk unnecessarily." Benjamin smiled, relief and affection clear in his expression. "Slow sounds perfect. Honest sounds even better. And for the record, Josephine Brooks, I think you are extraordinary. Not because of your art, though that is incredible, but because of your strength, your heart, your refusal to let circumstances break you." Coming full circle, I broke down plenty of times, Josephine reminded him with a watery laugh. "You saw me at my absolute worst that first day in your studio. You trusted me enough to be vulnerable. That is not weakness, that is courage," Benjamin said. He pulled her into a gentle hug, and Josephine let herself sink into his warmth. Feeling safe in a way she had not felt since before her parents died, they stood like that for a long moment, the city lights twinkling around them. Two people who had found each other at exactly the right time. "Thank you," Josephine whispered against his shoulder, "for seeing me when I was invisible, for believing in me when I had stopped believing in myself, for not wanting anything except to help." "Thank you for letting me," Benjamin replied, "for trusting me despite every reason you had not to, for bringing art and life back into my world, and for showing me that helping someone does not fix your own pain, but it does make it meaningful. When they finally pulled apart, Josephine felt lighter than she had in years. The future was still uncertain. There would be more challenges, more doubts, more moments of fear, but she was not facing them alone anymore. "Come on," Benjamin said, offering his arm. "Let us go back inside. Your public awaits, and I want to watch their faces when you talk about your work. That light in your eyes when you discuss art, it is my favorite thing." Josephine took his arm, letting him guide her back toward the warmth and light of the ballroom. As they walked, she thought about that night at the gallery 6 months ago. Drenched in champagne and desperation, she had broken down that day, admitted it was her first time being truly seen, and Benjamin had responded not with pity or exploitation, but with genuine kindness that asked nothing in return. That moment had set everything else in motion. The art, the healing, the trust, the possibility of love built on a foundation of respect and honesty. Josephine had learned something crucial over these months. Accepting help was not weakness. Vulnerability was not defeat. And sometimes, the scariest thing you could do was let someone love you without believing you had to earn it. As they rejoined the gala, Josephine caught her reflection in one of the ballroom's mirrors. She barely recognized the confident, glowing woman staring back at her. That woman was an artist. That woman had saved her brother. That woman had taken a terrifying chance on trust and found something beautiful on the other side. That woman was her. Finally, fully her and whatever came next, whether with Benjamin or on her own. Josephine knew she would face it not as someone merely surviving, but as someone truly living. Just as Tommy had told her to do all those months ago, when she stared at a business card and was too afraid to hope, the journey was far from over. But for the first time in longer than she could remember, Josephine was excited to see where it would lead. Not because everything was perfect, but because she had finally learned she was strong enough to handle whatever came, and brave enough to accept help when she needed it. That was the real transformation. Not the money, or the recognition, or even the possibility of love, but the knowledge that she was worthy of all those things, not because of what she had survived, but simply because she existed.